President of the Human Rights Council, members of the Council, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I bring to you greetings from His Excellency, President Salva Kiir Mayardit, the government and people of the Republic of South Sudan. It's an honor and privilege to update this Council on the milestone progress achieved in the implementation of the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan 2018, the promotion and protection of human rights, and to clarify some key findings on matters related to human rights in South Sudan, highlighted by the Commission in their report. Milestone progress made. The government has achieved a milestone progress in the implementation of the revitalized agreement by enacting the Transitional Justice Laws for the establishment of the Commission for Truth, Reconciliation and Healing Act 2024 and Compensation and Reparation Authority Act 2024. The operationalization of the two laws has just recently been approved on the 24th January 2025 by the National Council of Ministers. The process to invite nominations to select and appoint the commissioners, including from the civil society organizations, is currently underway. Ratification of the core UN conventions. To promote and protect human rights for all public life and governance institutions, the government has underscored important progress by ratifying and joining in 2023 core United Nations conventions, among them the International Covenant on Political and Civil Rights, the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, and the International Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. As part of the progress made as well, the Judicial Reform Committee, established in accordance with Article 1.17 of the Revitalized Agreement, completed its task and submitted its final report and recommendations to the government on 20th September 2024 for approval by the National Council of Ministers and establishment of focal body to oversee the implementation. The revitalized National Constitutional Review Commission will soon commence with support from international partners, public education and awareness, and start the drafting process of the permanent constitution in accordance with the provisions of the revitalized agreement. In regard to accountability and criminal justice, the various challenges faced by the rule of law institutions, including limited trained staff and infrastructure, are being gradually addressed by the government through establishment and usage of mobile courts, mobile general court martial, and the gender-based violence and juvenile courts to hold perpetrators of human rights violations and sexual and gender-based violence atrocities accountable. A significant number of cases have been already tried, while other cases are pending for further investigation. The government, with support from international partners, constructed courts and office for public prosecutors and judges in some areas in South Sudan. And judges have been recently deployed, and they have started delivering justice services. The gender-based violence and juvenile court established in the capital, Juba, has been prosecuting sexual offenses affecting women and girls for some years now. To end impunity and sexual violence, the government has issued directives to military to work towards establishing cordial relations with the civilian population and prevent cases of human rights violations in the areas under their command. Notwithstanding, the General Court Martial and the mobile courts are effectively and timely responding to cases of sexual violence. On the allegation of lack of civic space, arbitrary detention of civilians by elements of the security personnel, extrajudicial killings, I have to make it clear that there have been no verified cases. However, the current change made by the President in the leadership of the Security National Service has significantly improved the relationship with civil society organizations, human rights defenders, and activists. Cases of arbitrary arrest and detention have been ended by the security new leadership. Some governors who were found to have been involved in all alleged cases of extrajudicial killings in states like Warab and Western Equatoria were removed as part of accountability and to end impunity. The South Sudan People's Defense Forces remain committed to the international humanitarian law, international human rights law, and national laws of the country, which protect and safeguard rights of children. Based on this, the South Sudan People's Defense Forces in the late 2024 released and demobilized children from one of the armed groups who joined the government. In order to enhance understanding of the child rights, the Directorate of Child Protection in the South Sudan People's Defense Forces trained 150 personnel from 10 states of South Sudan and 3 administrative areas. In addition, the government has established mobile courts marshaled to prosecute cases of grave violations committed by the Army personnel against children. This court has drastically reduced violations of child rights by members of the armed forces. Improvement of women's rights. The government, with the support of international partners, conducted a mapping analysis on women equity participation in public administration at national government level, as well as at 10 states of South Sudan and 3 administrative areas. 2 documents were developed in this context with the aim to further improve women's knowledge on their rights. In a further step to improve women's rights, the government acceded to the UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, and to the African Charter on Human Rights, Human and People's Rights Protocol on Rights of Women in Africa, Maputo Protocol, and therefore developed a document known as South Sudan Women's Charter, which contains advocacy priorities for women and girls to actively participate in the permanent constitution-making process. On the community violence, the government, with support from development partners, carried out peace conferences in areas affected. The government also removed and changed governors in such affected areas, a matter which brought peace and calmness in such affected areas. Allegation of corruption. With regard to the allegations of corruption contained in the Commission's report, I have to mention that this is one of the areas in which the Commission has clearly exceeded its mandate, as the matter relates to corruption are not within the mandate of the Commission. The government would like to state that the allegations contained in the Commission's report, particularly on the lack of trial of conflict-related sexual violence, communal violence, and extrajudicial killings, are unfounded and do not reflect the reality on the ground. In conclusion, Mr. President, allow me to reiterate once again the steadfast readiness of the government of South Sudan to engage constructively and develop cordial relationship with the international community as well as with the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, the Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan, and with other human rights mechanisms. I lastly call on the Human Rights Council to consider adopting the following. A, the Commission share evidence and names of the individuals and entities accused of human rights violations to enable the government to evaluate the evidence with a view of addressing them through accountability. B, the government accepts the Commission to monitor and report on human rights situation, but its power of investigation should be relinquished to the government and UNMISS. C, the government rejects the Commission's intrusion and expansion of its mandate into monitoring of the implementation of the revitalized agreement, a mandate which is conferred to our JMEC. In case these positions are accepted, the government is willing to accept the renewal of the Commission's mandate for a period of 1 year only. As a result of the continued cooperation of South Sudan with the Office of the UN High Commission for Human Rights, the Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan, and other human rights mechanisms, and the milestone progress achieved, we further request the Council to discuss the situation in South Sudan under Agenda Item 10 rather than under Agenda Item 2 to enable it to obtain technical assistance and capacity building which South Sudan direly needs as a post-conflict country. Thank you.